Raymond Lotta is an advocate for the new communism that has been forged by Bob Avakian, and he is a political economist. In that context, he is also the spokesperson for Revolution Books in Harlem, New York City. Raymond, welcome to the Revolution Nothing Less show.
Well, it's great to be here, Sansar.
Wonderful to have you back. Now, you have been spearheading a campaign to spread the new communist revolution that we need up against the anti-communist brainwash you are getting. And you're taking this to campuses, you're taking it broadly, but especially in campuses, academia, where a lot of the anti-communist brainwash is concentrated and churned out of. And this campaign recently took you to Yale University, right into the classroom of Timothy Snyder, where you declared no class as usual. And you did something that got a lot of attention. It got covered in the Yale Daily newspaper, in Inside Higher Ed, other publications. Why don't you tell us, first of all, who is Timothy Snyder and why did you march into his classroom? What went down?
Yeah. So on February 29th, the RevComs marched into the class that's taught by Timothy Snyder entitled Hitler, Stalin, and Us. And we declared, as you mentioned, no class as usual.
No class as usual today. There is a state of emergency. A state of emergency caused by this capitalist imperialist system. Genocide in Gaza. Women stripped of the right to abortion. Climate catastrophe. And the way out of this is a liberating communist revolution based on the new communism by Bob Avakian. And Timothy Snyder, your professor, is locking you into this oppressive system. He is prettifying U.S. imperialism. He is brainwashing you with lies and slanders about communism. His anti-communism is as scientific. No, I am not leaving. The stakes could not be higher. We have challenged you to debate.
So why Timothy Snyder? Because this guy is a highly promoted historian, an anti-communist historian who has been given all kinds of platforms through publication in the New York Times, in the Washington Post, at international policy forums, at MSNBC. And he spreads the message that communism is a failure, that communism is a nightmare, and it must not be repeated. And this has an incredibly toxic and poisonous effect, on the atmosphere in the university among progressive and enlightened intellectuals, because he is telling people, don't go there to another world. Don't go there to communism. The best we can do is the world that we have. So that was the reason for marching into his class, and I was calling on students to wake up, to raise their sights to the need and possibility for another world. And I was challenging Timothy Snyder to debate the true facts and experience of communist revolution in the 20th century and the future and the present tense of building for that revolution, which needs to happen soon, not far off, based on this new communism. He evacuated the class. I said, let's debate here and now. Let's bring the students into it. All shit broke loose when I issued that challenge. And rather than being part of a debate that needed to happen right then and there, he evacuated the class.
Well, he also, I saw the video, we'll run some of it. He came, he put his hands on you, he grabbed the camera out of somebody's hands, and he called security on you, hiding behind calling the security and not willing to measure facts against facts and marshal his argument against yours and let people sort it out and see where the truth lands. But despite his hustling people out of there and calling security, a few students stayed back. They were intrigued. They were provoked by what you did. Can you describe some of the engagement that broke out?
Yeah, I do want to say that his shutting this down was very symbolic and emblematic of precisely what the mission of Timothy Snyder is with these anti-communist distortions and lies. And that is to shut down any serious debate. With these students who stayed behind, well, we got into some of the historical experience of the first revolutions, that took place, the socialist revolution in the Soviet Union, 1917 to 1956. And one of the things that I got into was this theory of totalitarianism. And this is what Snyder propounds. And it is a bullshit theory that communism and fascism, that the Soviet Union, the socialist Soviet Union in the 1920s and 30s and early 40s, and Nazi Germany were the same. And what we got into was, well, okay, let's look at the actual evidence. Let's look at the actual history. The Soviet Union under Lenin and Stalin, these first 2 decades of the Soviet experience, we saw incredible attempts to build a radically different kind of society, to eradicate the oppression of women, to go to work on eradicating, the oppression and the discrimination against minority nationalities and ethnic groups. And it was a radically different society that has ever existed in the world. It was the first attempt. It had all kinds of problems and challenges before it, but something new was being attempted. Nazi Germany, on the other hand, was a society based on male supremacy, racial purity, capitalist exploitation, fanatical chauvinism, and an incredible, vicious genocidal conquest. In fact, in terms of showing the difference and how bullshit this theory of totalitarianism, you just take the example of the plight and the condition of Jews, that in Nazi Germany, Jews were being rounded up, they were being persecuted, they were being terrorized, they were being exterminated at 6 million. But in the Soviet Union, in those parts of the Soviet Union not occupied by the Nazis, 1.5 million Jewish lives were saved. So we get into some of this actual history. And the important point here, and this is what we really, sort of have to bring forth in this great debate that I'm opening up, is that there is this historical experience. Bob Avakian went to work on analyzing what were the great achievements of these first revolutions in the Soviet Union, 1917 to 56, in China, 1949 to 76. What were their great achievements, which were overwhelmingly the defining feature of these revolutions? But what were their problems and shortcomings? And how can we do far better in making revolution in today's world? And that's what Bob Avakian has done through probing that experience, through analyzing it, not holding anything back, looking at all the facts, taking on, not just to rhetorically answer, but to actually look into the charges that have been leveled against communism. He's gone into this deeply, and he has brought forth a new communism, a new framework for human emancipation, for making revolution in today's world, based on actually summing up that experience is overwhelmingly positive dimension, but some serious problems and shortcomings. And we now have the basis, the framework to actually make a truly liberatory revolution in today's world.
Yeah, I think this last point you're making is so profoundly important, because it's always important to set the record straight about historical fact, about the truth. The truth matters. What the evidence shows, it matters to be grounded in that, especially about things that really have of great historical importance for the future. But I think what you're bringing in here is not only does Timothy Snyder lie about and distort and slander the actual history of communism, and not only is he a major public hitman, a heavy hitter for this anti-communist brainwash, but he is doing it explicitly in the service of keeping people locked within this existing system of capitalism, imperialism. So it's dishonest methods in the service of a very oppressive system being held together. And in contrast, what you're describing with what BA has done is to go deeply into the actual history, the incredible accomplishments, but also, yes, the shortcomings and the errors, honestly interrogate them in the service of breaking free of this nightmare world of capitalism, imperialism, and advancing down the road to real human emancipation through a new communist revolution, which is what you're fighting to bring alive. So I think the stakes of this could not be higher. It's not just as important as it is a matter of setting the record straight. It's a matter, like you said, of the future and of now. And I think it'd be important for you to speak before we close out to what is your mission and what's your call to others about going forward with this campaign you're on?
Well, I mean, this is the situation that we're facing, that, you have people, enlightened, progressive, people concerned about the state of the world who are influenced by this summation, this characterization, this bullshit that communism is a nightmare and it's a millstone around people's necks. It really weighs on people. And this is something that keeps people from conceiving of a world beyond capitalism. I am opening up the debate about the past of communist revolution and the future of communist revolution and the real basis and possibility to make revolution in today's world, not as a far off hope and utopian dream, but as something that is actually possible. There is a framework, there's a strategy that has been put forth by Bob Avakian. But you know what? What I'm getting at and what we've been talking about together is the oxygen has been sucked out of the room. The intellectual atmosphere in this society is very, very stultifying because precisely the alternative, the only alternative, the liberatory, emancipatory alternative to capitalism, imperialism. And let's look at the stakes right now. We are talking about a climate crisis careening towards catastrophe. We are talking about the real danger of nuclear war between the imperialist powers. We are talking about Gaza and genocide that's perpetrated by U.S. imperialism, backing and propping up and giving diplomatic cover to Israel, something, by the way, that Timothy Snyder will not condemn. This is the situation. These are the stakes. Which way for humanity? Is there going to be a future for this planet? There is a revolutionary way out. I am opening up the debate, restoring and bringing oxygen into the room so that we can get at this and bring forward revolutionary-minded people right here and now. I am inviting people to invite me to come to their classes, to come to their universities. For me, if there's a Timothy Snyder on your campus, I'm eager and ready to debate him or her or they. I am ready to do it. Okay. If there are classes that are teaching, the history of socialist revolution, bring me in. And I will get at the truth of these revolutions and the new communism, what it has summed up about the strengths and the weaknesses and the whole new framework Bob Avakian has brought forward in the work that he's done to make revolution, truly emancipatory revolution, possible. There are student groups that want to have me come. I'm ready. My message is there is an urgent situation confronting humanity. We talk about it on the RNL show. There'll be, discussion, in other segments tonight that bear on all of this. I am coming in. I'm going straight into the maw of this bullshit summation about communism that has lowered people's sights and that we have to bust open right now. Bring me to your campus before the end of the semester, and let's join together in changing this atmosphere as part of accelerating the development of the movement for a real revolution.
All right, Raymond Lotta, I want to thank you so much for what you're doing, getting out there, taking on this anti-communist brainwash and bringing forward and fighting for the new communist revolution that we need. People need to answer your call. Everybody watching, bring Raymond where you are. Join with him in this campaign. I also want to point you to resources at revcom.us, and in particular, the really wealth of work that Bob Avakian has done contrasting fascism and communism, taking on this lie of totalitarianism that Raymond was speaking about, getting into the new communism. If you go to the Bob Avakian resource page, his publications, you'll find the work Breakthroughs that breaks down what he's actually further developed, the breakthroughs of the new communism. There are other resources at revcom.us. Raymond Lotta did an incredible interview setting the record straight on the history of communist revolutions and on their future that you can find there. Really important to dig into these works yourself, to spread them. Also, Raymond, you took, there's a number of pieces you did, and Bob Avakian has done, taking on the work of Timothy Snyder in particular on this question and a number of other dimensions. So again, wealth of information. I want to drive people to revcom.us on all of this. And Raymond, once again, thank you so much for making the time to come and talk with us here at the Revolution Nothing Less show.
Well, thanks for having me, and I look forward to coming back and reporting on campus initiative to break this debate wide open.
Great.